We'll go ahead and get started. Hi, my name's Ben McCormick, and I work for Fog Creek Software. We have two products that are for software developers, but we just came out with a new one last year called Trello, which is a free tool to help people organize things. So we're going to go over how to use Trello to plan a screencast, or really anything. It can be used to plan anything, but today we'll use it to plan a screencast. So we're going to have Greg is going to be planning a screencast. Do you want to sit here? I'm going to have you drive.
Are you insured? You'll be sorry. You won't need insurance.
All right. So, here, you take this chair. I'll slide one down. It's a pretty good deal. So if you could go ahead and sign up, so you can see really easily how to sign up. And if we have microphones floating around, if you want to ask a question or comment, please grab a microphone. Oh. Do you have your email open over here? So if you already have a Google account, you can just log in and create a Trello account with your Google account. It does not have to be. You can create it like what you saw Greg do. He just created a Trello account. But if you already have Gmail, then it just saves the step of having to log into your mail and check your mail. All right. Okay, so this is what happens when Greg or anybody creates a new account. You get a board already for you that kind of tells you all the different things that you can do in Trello. We're going to come back to that. But what I want to do is I've made this public board screencast plan, and I want to add Greg to it. Greg West. So I'm going to invite Greg West to this board, and now Greg should have a notification now. You click the notification in the top of the screen and accept. And now you can click into that board. Just click the name of it up there. If you click in the boards in the top right hand of the screen, yes, and then click plan a screencast using Trello. Okay, and so now if this is a public board, if anybody goes to that link bit.ly/screencast plan, and we'll have some other people join to fill other roles in just a second. You can join this board and then see what's going on your own computer in real time. So the first thing when you want to plan a screencast is we want to have ideas of what are we going to screencast about. So what are things that you screencast about?
You could screencast about how good this event is and interview some people.
Okay, so you want to put together a full multimedia event. It's going to have some screencasting, some video.
Sure.
We're going to have several different elements. So let's go ahead and
Eat too.
and we want to eat as well. Okay, so go ahead and change the name of the to-do list here in the top left-hand corner. Yeah, right there. Just click there, change the name of that, and let's put ideas. So go ahead and start adding in the add card area. Under ideas, let's start adding ideas about just what we're going to need to do for screencasting. We're not going to really worry about organizing things too much here. We're not going to worry too much about the structure of our board. We're just kind of going to dump out our brain. What kind of things are we going to want to gather? No.
Cameras?
Yep, cameras, we're going to need that, so just add that. You mentioned food. So go ahead and add it as a, add each one of those as separate items.
Oh, okay.
So you can just hit cameras, then hit enter.
Oh, okay.
And then I added food. And we'll need people to interview, so I'll add that. And you notice how, as I'm adding things, it's just showing up on the board, right? And then on the very far right side of the screen, it's showing you kind of an overall activity of what's going on there. Greg added something, then Ben added something, so it's kind of showing a back and forth there. Do we want what kind of like content, just general, like a script or a plan that we want to have at the end? Time frame, right?
If you want to make a change, you just go back. So how can you rename?
So just click into the card if you want to change it, and then you can edit the title at the top. There you go.
Oh, okay.
So now we have a bunch of ideas about what we want to work on. And at this point, we want to say, okay, what are the next things to do? So this is where the different lists really come together. This is going to allow us to kind of structure things a little bit differently. So if like we have a huge list of ideas, and this, of course, you could go on for an hour about all the different types of things you want to capture, and maybe you even have a list of, all the different types of things that you want to screencast about, but you're not gonna do every single one of them. So you can let that list get really big, knowing that you're going to close some cards and archive some cards, and that's fine. But now we want to get to the actual phase of how are we going to actually produce this. So the next thing we want to do is let's take our middle list here and let's call this pre-planning. So these are things that we know that we're going to want to do, but we just haven't, they're past the idea stage. So they've kind of been approved, and we want to handle it. Now, are you on Trello, Betsy? All right, so I'm going to add Betsy here.
I'm on too.
Do you want Betsy Weber or Betsy Weber 1?
First one.
Okay. Let's just do keep. Don't show this. Nope. Oh, wrong one. That's okay. It'll come up again. So what I'm going to do is once Betsy accepts the invite, did you see it? She'll accept it in just a second, and then she'll show up under members. I think. You might have to click into the board and then click accept. Yes. Yep. Does anybody else want to be a member of the board? Did you join Trello?
Yes.
What's your name?
Roberto Garza.
Roberto Garza. If you could, go to add members, right below the members area, right? Yeah, click that. And then type Roberto, and then space Garza. No, try G-A. This will pull up everybody in Trello, so. Is it Z-A? Garza, Z-A. There he is. So go ahead and add him. There you go.
That's on the
Add me too, and then it's Steve Sal.
That's odd. What is that? Eh?
Wait. I'm in there. pictures of you.
You might have to.
Let me go through the
You got
website.
it in your email? Did it show up in your email?
Oh,
That's a bug.
feature. There we go. Keyboard.
Yeah. That should allow you to.
That's going through the website. So, accept.
Oh, you have to.
Oh.
Or
let me
Lala.
log in.
Sorry.
No, you're fine, you're fine. Log in.
S-A-L-I-K.
I'm sorry, what you're in, so,
L?
SL,
SALIK.
enter.
Yep. He's down there. Yep, right there.
Okay.
No, not the N. Not without the N.
There we go. I'm in.
Okay, so you click.
Okay.
Just look at the notifications in Trello.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, it looks like on the iPad app, there may not be a way to accept the board. We were trying to figure that out. We'll check into that. Oh, Betsy, did you say you were able to join?
Yeah, I should. Oh, wait. Yeah.
Oh, there you are. Great. Okay. So we want Betsy to work on the catering. That's what we want her to do. So if you could just drag Betsy's card, her face, under members. If you look in the top right-hand corner of the screen over here,
Oh, yeah, okay.
just grab Betsy's face and just drag it right onto food. So that's assigned to Betsy. So Betsy's going to work on that. She's going to add a checklist of the different things she needs to do. We'll check back in with her later. Who's going to be in charge of getting the cameras together?
I'll do that.
C's going to do that. Okay. So drag him on top of cameras, and we definitely want cameras to be in pre-planning. So I'll go ahead and move that over. And then writing the script. That's going to be a good bit of work. So we'll actually do that in Trello. So I'm just going to put script as its own list. And it doesn't have to stay that way. But let's say that's something that, actually, we'll have Greg work on that. So I'll go ahead and put Greg's card right there. So Greg, you can build out, while I'm assigning things to other people, you can go ahead and start putting out different elements of the script in the script column. So the different things that you would want to cover in this content. You can either make them as separate cards, or you can edit the card description and like do different bullet points in there.
Does it put the bullet points in or just put them
You can just do, if you do like hyphen space, this uses a special syntax called Markdown, which is really easy to get the hang of. There's some documentation for it. There's a link to documentation. Markdown accepted. But if you just use kind of what you would expect to do a list, for example, it'll automatically create bullet points for you, which is pretty nice. And so under script, I'm going to go ahead and move over the card. You won't be able to see it while he's typing, but questions for interviews, microphones. Since Steve's doing cameras, we're going to assign him to that as well. We have food in there twice, so I'll archive the other card. And we'll add Roberto to that. So go ahead and save that if you could. Go ahead and click save. And this is a good start, but what you might find out as you start your script card is that this isn't it starts to get a little bit more complicated. And you say, okay, we've started the script. We know we want to do collect names of all presenters, but maybe that should be its own card, right? So what you might do after you use one card to kind of dump a bunch of ideas is you might start breaking that up into different cards. So let's go ahead and take, we'll just go ahead and close this card, or just, close out of it. And under where, let's add cards to the script about the different, like let's start adding questions or different things you want to cover. Yep, that works perfect. Well, yeah, let's add an actual question, like what's something we want to ask? Like, what's one thing that you got out of Screencast Camp? So what you're looking for here is you have a card that's a duplicate, you don't want it to be there. You're looking for archive, which is in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. Okay. Yep, and then you can close out of this card.
This one?
Yeah, just hit the X.
Okay.
Then when he was doing the script and he put the hyphen in to make the bullet points,
Mhm.
he wanted to put a bullet point underneath the bullet point and
You can do, you can just,
hyphens, would that make it?
you just do some more spaces in front of it. So you would do like, the first one doesn't have any spaces in front of the hyphen, and then you go down one level and you might say space, space, hyphen, and it'll automatically figure out the nesting, as long as they're the same.
Yeah, you might have part of the job, but it goes with that job.
Exactly, exactly. It corrected your UK spelling. That's fine.
Add to dictionary.
Okay. That's perfect. So while you're working on a script there, let's check in on what Betsy's doing. And with her pre-planning, she did food. So if you click, food right there, we can see that she added a checklist. And the way you would add a checklist is in the bottom right. You have all these different actions that you can do. So if you check one of those things, so if you, if you check research caterers, it's going to show you some progress along the way. And
That one's done.
yeah, that thing's done. And you'd be surprised at how meaningful that physical action is to make a checklist and check it off and to see it work itself to completion. So, did you have a question? Food is a card right here, meaning like food is a card in this. This is assuming like if we're part of our planning process is going to involve catering for the people that we're interviewing. If that's one of the things that we want to cover in our preparations, then Betsy would handle that. Food could also be a topic. How is the food? That could also be part of a script if we wanted it to be. Okay, and so we've got different things going on here. If you close out of this card and click on cameras, we want to check the progress of what Steve's been doing. So Steve made a comment earlier that he ordered 2 Canon XA10 cameras for Amazon, and then I made a comment at Steve. So when I typed at Steve, did you get a notification? You did. So Steve gets a notification that I commented to him. So he's like, and if he doesn't, he'll get an email shortly after saying, hey, somebody's talking to you on Trello. And this allows us to have a conversation back and forth. Really useful when planning with other people, because you can see we not only have a card that's dedicated to cameras. We know who's in charge of it because Steve's the member assigned to this. but we can see the dialogue that goes back and forth. And here, Steve might add more details in the card description about what he's ordering, what he needs to do, and then the dialogue below is just kind of the running conversation about where this is going. We want to make sure that this gets done before we ship. So let's say that the cameras have to be in line. And Steve just added a another comment. Cameras are fried. Ordered two cameras. That's great. So we might want to add a due date. So if you go to the towards the bottom right of this card, you'll see due date. And here you can pick a date, sometime in the future where we want to make sure we have the cameras by, and then we click save. And so now that due date is going to show up at the top of the card. And if you close out of the card, you can see the due date on the card itself. So that's going to go, and Betsy added August 10th to hers as well, which is really good. So you've got mics, room number, time frame. And then as we get close, and as we get close to being ready, we'll have another. That shows up good. Okay, we have another card here that says ready. So as the different people, whatever they're working on, you just drag your card over and then into the ready column. So as things show up into the ready column, something's ready to go. The next thing's ready to work on.
You mean like that's done, the ready column is the done column, or that's what should be worked on next?
That's good. That's a little confusing. That's a good point. In this case, it just means like this. Yeah, done. This aspect is done. So like the time frame has been prepared, and so we're ready to work on that.
So I just entered a URL. Is it going to actually?
You put that under cameras?
Yeah.
Yep.
So
If
it actually knows it's a URL.
yeah. So if you click on cameras again, the Steve's card, and he's got a you could click on that. So it's got a URL. It'll recognize your URLs. It's pretty smart. Include it. Yeah, there we go. So this, continue on, and like the process really just after you get the cards started and after you get them moved over, it's really going to start. You don't have. I mean, as you see, like we started off with just ideas, doing, and done. It started off really to do, doing, and done. We changed the list list name to ideas, kind of dumped our brain, and then let the Trello board take structure. So there's not a sense of strict structure here. It's really just giving us a 50,000-foot view of where our project is. From the project, I'm looking at, I might, if I gets to August 9th and Betsy's still in, hers is still in the pre-planning column, I might be a little concerned, so that tells me I need to call up Betsy or comment at her in Trello or something like that to make sure that somebody's working on it. The question is there an icon to light a fire? And there's not, but what you can do is if you click on food, Steve.
I'm sorry, click on what?
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't. Steve, I meant Greg. Sorry. So here, and I think are we zoomed out a little bit?
Yeah, I sent you that.
Yeah, let's try to zoom back in a little bit. Yeah. So if you type under activity, type the @ sign, yeah, and then type Betsy. There you go, and just hit enter. And then you can say you're going to be done soon or something like that. So you can give her. It's not an automatic light a fire button, but when we do this and then we hit the comment button, this is going to put a notification in her Trello and also send her an email if she doesn't check it. Not Steve's. No, because he was specifically.
The app Betsy makes it specifically for her.
Correct. Correct. Now, the other time you're going to get notified is if you're a member of the card. So go ahead and close out of this card, Greg, and click on one of the cards you're assigned to, which is like script you're assigned to in the far right. So when you're a member of the card, you'll automatically receive notifications on that card if somebody comments, even if they don't use the @ sign, because that's what you're assigned to. So it's assuming you want to know the dialogue about anything you're assigned to, and by default, you're going to be to that card. So you see the checkbox next to subscribe. So you can, if you want, you could subscribe to as many cards as you feel is appropriate. You know, that maybe you're not assigned to it, but you want to follow it and kind of check up on it. You can subscribe to cards and stay on top of it that way. And go ahead.
Get a notification when something goes into the ready column so that everybody knows, okay, this is ready?
That's a good, the question was, do you get a notification when cards move into different lists? So in this example, would you get a notification, if you could close out of this card, would you get a notification if the card moved into the ready column? And I believe it only would notify you if you're subscribed to the card. But that's been a common request, is to kind of have a sense of subscribing to a list to know when an item moved into a list. So I think that's something the team's going to consider adding. A question in the back?
Yes. So the gentleman said this
Greg.
Greg. So Greg is like somewhat of the project manager.
Yes, he's in charge of making sure this project goes off without a hitch.
The members were invited by Greg, and the task was assigned accordingly, and people can add, comment, or whatever as needed.
Yes.
And other people add people?
Yes, so you can set up, if you click on, actually, let me make, I'm going to try to make you a member here. I might have to log in as me. I tell you what, I'll go ahead and jump back on this computer here, and I'm going to use, whoops, that's all right. I'm going to use a different view. If you're an admin to the board, so this is before it was Greg logged in, and here I'm logged in. And I'm going to go to Options, Settings, Permissions, and you have the ability to change, like I made this board public, that's why everybody's able to see it. But you can have the member belong, you could have the board belong only to where members could see it, so it's essentially private. Trello also has a feature called Organizations. That's a free feature to where if you have a company or a school or any type of organization, you can make boards that are visible and editable within an organization. So that's really useful. That saves that step of having to add members. If everybody's already a member of the organization, you can make a board just editable by members of your organization. So it reduces a little bit of the friction. For a public forum like this, that's not really feasible. But you can go in there and change, who has the ability to comment. So really, right now, anybody who has a Trello account who's logged into Trello looking at this board can add comments, right? So anybody could ask a question on a card, talk to somebody. We could interact back with them. Somebody could ask Steve, where'd you learn all these cool things about cameras? You could put that right on the card, and so we're doing that in the public. And to give you an example of where we have that, Trello uses Trello. So our Trello dev team, if you Google Trello development, trello.com/dev, this is just a Trello board. And on this Trello board, we have a bunch of lists. And I'm going to slide over. And you can see the things we're working on, the things that were done recently, the things that are live. We keep track of bug fixes, new features here. Card cover images was something we just recently added. This was something that a lot of folks wanted. There's Taco, our owner's dog. He's cute.
Chihuahua.
No, it's a Siberian Husky. Yeah. And then we have things that are in progress. So the Android app is something that should be shipping soon. So the team edited kind of some overview here, of what they're working on. And then you see all the different attachments, the photo, and then people who wanted to volunteer to participate in beta testing. If you have an Android and you want to volunteer to participate in beta testing, you can go comment on this card. And if we need additional help, we'll go ask for it. So this is a huge amount of dialogue going back with the community, just kind of asking, what's going on, and then
Put images in the comments?
it looks like it. Yeah, it looks like he did. Yeah, Hamid. That's Hamid is one of our developers on Trello.
Is there just a button or something for doing that, or is it, right?
So adding an attachment is going to be. Let's see. Attachments, upload. Yeah, right there. So you can just. One of those is going to be huge. Zoom it. We'll attach zoom it. Done. You can. Oh, it has drag and drop attachment now with modern browsers. If you're using Chrome or something like that, it has drag and drop attachments. One thing to note about Trello, it's not going to work on IE8 or IE7 or older browsers. We built it because we started building it last year. We built it for modern browsers. So you need to be, if you're using Windows 7, IE9 is a free upgrade. Chrome is free on Windows XP and Windows and Mac. And pretty much any modern browser is going to run Trello. But if your organization only uses IE7 or IE8, it's not going to work. That's just one quick caveat. But that hasn't really stopped people. Other uses for Trello, I'll go ahead and show off some of my boards. I have let's see, Ben's Creek. This is one that I use for just personal project management at work. I have different things I want to keep track of. So over here, I have an ideas list. So these aren't things that I'm necessarily going to work on. Some of them are just kind of maybe just off the top of my head, or here's one that my boss told me about, that he was like, hey, I have this idea of something that maybe we want to test. And it wasn't something that really made sense to work on right away, but I wanted to show that, hey, we're tracking this. And my boss is actually a member of this board, so he can see what I'm working on. I mean, even though I'm really the only one who edits it, he can have an idea of what I'm working on, and he can see, oh, you're working on the Trello Stories video, and you've got kind of you're waiting on something for these other A/B tests, right? And I really like this. So when I have things that I want to put on deck, I put it in the to-do column, and then if I'm actively working on it that week, I'll put it in the doing column. And I'm only gonna have like 1 or 2 items in doing at any given time, because it's realistically impossible to be working on more than 2 or 3 things at a time. So sometimes things will be in doing, and maybe they go into waiting or back into ideas if they don't, if I can't really put time into them. So that's like a personal list. So that's really just me, just something for me. Another one I use for work that I just recently has become really helpful to me is I do live webinars for 2 of our products, FogBugs and Kiln, and there's a bit of teardown and setup for each of the webinars, and I found that I was forgetting different things for each of the webinars, and it was frustrating me. And I was like, there's got to be a way to keep track of this, to to stay on top of it. So I created a Trello board that lets me create different. I've got different webinars here. So here are the ones that are coming up. HG Init is for Kiln, FogBugs Basics is for FogBugs, and I do each of those once a month. The next one for Kiln is coming up on August 16th, and I have all the different things I need to do. I have 3 different checklists before. I have to create a card in Trello, create a GoToWebinar event, add it to our websites, add it to my calendar, and then all the different things I do on the day of. And this makes it really easy to stay on top of what I have to do. And then after the webinar is over, what do I have to do? So when I get to the week of, I move it to week of. Once I'm done with the webinar, I move it to after. And then I made another list, just a kind of a little ad hoc list of all the different things I need to do to send the email. It's surprisingly a lot of finicky steps, and I was forgetting things, and I would do something just a little bit wrong, and it just would drive me nuts, and it would cause me a little bit of stress because I'd have to really think to remember it, and so I just put it in as a checklist, you know, and if you notice, it's like, that's not really something that needs to be, that's going to move. It's really just a note, but it's there for me and it's going to help me out. So this is something that's really helpful. And then if I want to make a new one, I just go to copy, and I'm going to choose to keep the checklist, because that's the most important, and click create card. And then here I have a brand new empty card. It just needs a due date, and then I'm ready to start checking through the rest of my items. So that's something that I found a lot of people have that problem of, they do something, the same thing on a repetitive basis, and maybe it doesn't make sense to like create a new task for your in your task management system, whatever that is. It doesn't make sense to just create it anew. So, but you have the same things you need to do, and being able to make checklists and then kind of use the card copy feature in Trello is a quick solve for that. So it's a useful way to solve that. Other ways to use Trello. My wife and I just bought a car, and there were a lot of things that we had to do to buy the car, and so we just kept the to-do doing done. We had to figure out, and this was great, we could just put in the to-do column all the different ideas we had for what we were going to need to do to possibly get done. Had to estimate what the additional insurance was going to cost, buy a Carfax report. So I bought a Carfax report on the CRV we were going to buy, as well as on our Corolla, which we might sell. Could easily upload that, and then I added notes about why the Corolla has a salvage title. That's another story. You know, and had to get a pre-sale vehicle inspection done. So I just you know, had different questions I wanted to ask. It ended up being really great, like just being able to ask. And here's a comment to my wife where I'm just saying, hey, heads up, at 8 o'clock on Saturday I'm going to take the car in, just letting you know in case you have anything going on. You don't have to worry about me, right? And this worked out really well for us. And then finally, when we picked up the car, we drove 2 cars back from Long Island, and we don't have a garage, so we had to park them on the street. So we made a card to note where they're parked in Astoria, New York.
Do you suggest that your wife use this? Does she roll her eyes, or does she actually?
No, my wife, she gets excited about different tools to solve problems. So this one, Trello ended up being a really natural fit. So some of the things that she's worked on, let me pull it up over here first to make sure it's kosher. Let's see here. Whoop. Oh, okay. So here's one that Emily made. If I go under boards, see all boards, you can see all the different boards for your different organizations. So Emily made one called Good Meals that she likes. So she put in different recipes that she likes. I don't think she's been actively using this, but she would put in different labels that mean different things. You can even change the names of the labels. She's got the the URL in the description, and muffins, different things that she puts on how to get it done. So she likes it. And then we have different things. We have different boards for like what are our family's current priorities. Really just, I've started only recently figuring out that you can really use Trello for anything. Oh, here's one for my talk I'm giving this afternoon. I made one for screencast tools and resources. And that's public as well. If you go to bit.ly/sctools2012, and the labels there mean free and paid. So you can see how you can give the labels names. Whoa. Ooh, zoom in. Zoom out. So I've been talking a lot. Do we have any questions about Trello? Great. You can send an email to me. You can send an email to me at benm@fogcreek.com. benm@fogcreek.com. I'll put that up here real quick. Whoop. There I am. Yes.
It's kind of similar to a wiki. Have you talked to anybody who use wikis now using Trello and can give you
Yes. We actually, at Fog Creek, we've used wikis a lot. The question was, have you talked to people who use wikis and who you went from the process of going from wikis to using Trello? And the answer is yes. And we can speak the same about going from using Google Docs to using Trello. I mean, Trello is not a silver bullet. It's solving a particular problem. But there are areas where it really performs really well. So for example, a colleague of mine and I are working on a screencast to showcase Trello. And we started just doing a brain dump in a Google Doc, a Word document. And what we found was, although it was useful in being able to edit things at the same time, it really didn't help. Like, we had different things like, okay, now we want to assign people to something. We want you to work on this. We want to put a card up for one element of the script and then have more details on it of it later. And Trello ended up being a better paradigm for that. For us, for our wiki editor, Fogbug's another one of our products, has a built-in wiki editor, and we like the wiki editor, but one of the drawbacks of it is that if you have two people editing a document at the same time and their collisions collide, it's going to only save one of the edits and make the other person kind of go in and re-edit the document, and it'll save their changes, but they're going to have to hit save twice. So the advantage of Trello is you saw, like, there are live updates going on in the background. You get around the fact that multiple people could be editing the same thing. It handles that better. Yeah, so our everything that you saw about Trello today is going to be free for the life of the product. So if you sign up for a Trello account, don't expect that we're going to pay you to make the product survive. The product's doing really well right now, even as a free product. The way we intend to monetize it is we know that there are people using it successfully in business, so we plan to provide tools to allow businesses to get more out of Trello. And it's not going to be, at least initially, the plan is it's not going to so much add functionality to how you use Trello, but rather how you administer it. So that's how Trello is going to survive. I know that sometimes people who are in a position to invest in tools get a little worried about using free software. So we're 100% behind this product, and we're behind it being free as well, and we do plan on making money on it so that people who are using it for free can keep using it. Yes, you can. So so I showed very briefly one of these cards. Let's see. Oh, the car one did have PDFs. That's right. So we'll jump back over there. Car plan. So here I uploaded 2 PDF files. And if you wanted to, I mean, it's not going to be like as rich of a document management system as SharePoint, for example. But this is going to allow you to upload attachments. So if you have multiple versions, you can throw them up there, delete the old versions if you want to or not. It doesn't really matter. But yeah, you can upload stuff here. If you're a developer, it's got a rich API. Talk to me about that later if you're interested.
Can you take things like from Dropbox or some other similar product and import it like you do with PDF? Bring it through your hard drive.
You can link to it through Dropbox. Yeah, so Dropbox should allow you to link to a file. And from there, you can just copy that in there. It's not going to import it, but it's a link. I mean, to be fair, if I highlight over one of these links, if you look in the bottom of the screen, which you can't really see, I don't know if I'm going to be able to pull this off. Here we go. Okay, so the bottom left hand of the screen shows us the link. That's being hosted on Amazon. So we're just offloading our attachments on Amazon because they're optimized for attachment storage. So it's not really being stored in Trello. So it's the same thing if you were to put a Dropbox link in there. It might not show up in the attachment section, but it's still stored in Dropbox. Yes?
I'm just curious, do you have any kind of,
I see that, obviously it's member-based and everything, but is there any kind of like privacy concerns with this? Any ways that users who aren't part of a group could get into your board?
Not that I mean, if you set up a board as private, so I have the visibility of this board, let's see, settings, if I go to permissions, this is set to where only the organization members can see it. So anybody outside of our organization can't see it. As far as we're aware at Fog Creek, everything's secure.
Sure. Okay.
We haven't heard of any holes. So it's at this point, it's up to the people administering it to make sure that they're only giving it out to people who should have access to it.
Okay, and so like even if you have it private, you can't like Google, like McCormick car plan and stumble across your car plan if it was set
If I take this link, for example, and I go back over to where Greg was working and paste the link in, it says board not found,
Oh, sweet.
right? So nothing's Googleable here. But for SEO purposes, if you want to have a Trello board that you want other people to be able to search, let's do Trello Android app development. So I'm going to Google for that. Notice this link here, the first non-ad link, is a Trello card. Trello, you look here at the link, it says trello.com/card. Okay, so this is actually finding the Trello board, the exact link for the Trello card, and linking right to it. So if you want content that other people can search publicly, Trello is a good place to host that. We tried to make it very SEO friendly.
So we use Trello a lot at TechSmith in all different departments. So we even plan part of Screencast Camp using Trello. So we've got a big board for that.
Awesome.
But Matt Pierce and I, along with many other people, work on a monthly webcast show called The Forge, and we often do our planning in there. So developers use it, marketing uses it, sales, all different departments. So
still a few of us that need to get on board, but not everyone should.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Any last questions? You see Taco, awesome. And we just reached 500,000 users a few weeks ago, which we were pretty excited about. All right.